Hi guys, welcome back to our channel again. So in the last video we saw how to inspect element by ID, and we actually tried to figure out how we can inspect by using Google Chrome browser and developer tool altogether, and finally we coded one block of code using Selenium and Python altogether to inspect that element. This ID, in that case it was static, but in this video we'll see if that ID is not static, that means if it is changing, how we can handle. Okay, we will not go much deep, but we'll give you basic idea, but later in some other video I will show you how to actually work with those IDs. So at first let's go to the practice space. So in this practice space, if we inspect this element, so we are seeing here there is on ID f name. Okay, this name f name, this ID name is always same. If we refresh continuously, see it's not changing, it is always same. Okay, now what will happen if the ID is different or ID is changing every time? At that time we cannot use the code which we actually learned in last tutorial, like find element by ID. Okay, because the ID name is changing. So let's see if the ID name is changing, how it looks. So I am on of the website. It's called medium.com, and I have couple of articles over there. This is the URL, medium.com / at FewSteps, something like that. Okay, so let's do one thing. Let's open this page. Okay, so in this page, this is article, and if we go down, this is the header, and then there is one paragraph, right? So if we open another article like this, best website to watch movie, this one, and if we go to that article, we'll see similar type of content. Like the beginning there is some title, and after that paragraph, and then there are some other contents. Okay, so suppose we want to create one script which will actually check the first paragraph, whether the letter starts with something there or some key or something like that. We can do whether the first paragraph starts with T or some other letters like this U, in this way. So in this for each content, the style is the same, right? At the beginning there is title, and after that there is paragraph, both of this article and this article. Okay, now if we inspect this element, how can we inspect? We can inspect by ID which we learned, right? So right click and then click on inspect, and the Chrome developer tool will be open. And if we scroll and if we go there, if we inspect by this element, we'll see like this way. Okay, so here we are seeing the IDs 3180 and then the paragraph, right? So this paragraph ID is 3180 for this article. Okay, so based on our previous like knowledge, we can guess that uh, if we can trace this element with this ID tag 3180, that means the first paragraph, right? Then we can easily inspect whether the paragraph starts with some letter like T or not. Okay, but in this case, for example, this one, this is the same structure of articles, but if we inspect this one, right click, inspect, and then we'll see this is also ID, but here the ID is different, 6658. Okay, so here if we again click here and then again inspect, we'll see the same thing, right? 6650. So for both articles there is first paragraph, right? But for the both article, the ID is changing, it keep changing always. Like for this case it is this 6650, and for this one it is 3180, completely different, there is no match. Okay, so how we can inspect this type of thing? In this case we our ID is not static, but in the previous case, whenever we are actually loading or something, the ID remains same, but for this case it's changing. Sometimes it also happen the same article also. Okay, here I gave you two different places so that you can easily understand. Okay, and I told you the scenario that we want to extract the first letter of each paragraph from each page. Okay, so if we try to inspect this type of case by the ID, it will fail, right? Because the ID it keep changing. Okay, so here in this case, if we try to run or skip, it will fail. So for that case we have to handle it different way, but we are not going to do in this tutorial because it will be very complicated for you, because we are just learning. If we try to, if I show you, then it will be very complicated for you, and then you will feel that the Selenium or automation is not for you. That's why I will not show you this thing. Later video, after we learn, I mean after I give you a couple of other videos, then we'll show you this type of scenario. Okay, so the main goal of this tutorial, I will summarize now. So basically there are two types of id, right? One is static id, so where it should be like this, and it will not change ever. Okay, it will be always constant. Okay, this id. But for other case, this type of case, the id is like keep changing. Okay, it keep changing during the refresh time, or also different page, something like that. Anytime it can change. Whenever the id is not fixed, at that time we can say it is dynamic id. So two types of id, one is static and dynamic. And if id is static, then we can easily write code like previous way, this way, like element, find element by id, we can easily trace like this way. But if the id is dynamic, or if it is not static, that means if it keeps changing always, then we cannot run in this way. At that time, if we try to load this script, it will fail, right? Because it is not actually, it is not, the id is changing. So let me show you one thing with an example. Let me copy this thing, right? Example html id, I'm going to copy and copy, and I'm going to paste it here, paste. But here I will type like dynamic id underscore dynamic. Okay, so I just created this file. Okay, so here let me go to this page. Suppose this is the url of this page. Okay, we can copy this page, and then we can actually put it here. So this is the page url, for example. Okay, and this is the WebDriver. It will open like this way, and here the id is 3180, 3180, right? But here I will not take this, I will take this id, this page id, different page. Okay, so here is the id, control c. So here we will put the id here. Okay, and then let's do one thing, let's run the script. So I'm going to run, right click and run the script. And what will happen, it will fail basically, we know, and we'll get some error. So it opened the thing, and it will try to figure out the id, but it's not able to find. We know that it will not, because for each paragraph of all content, the id is, it keep changing. Okay, and if we go the PyCharm, then we'll find this type of error, and we are seeing that right now, this time process finished with exit code 1. That means there is error. Now let's see the code. Okay, if we actually scroll from the beginning, here it is showing that file is line 22, this one in module. Okay, at test id. So this is the method function name. Okay, and this is showing something like that. And then if we go the details here, Selenium common exception, no such element exception message, no such element. That means unable to locate method css selector or selector id 6650. Okay, our target was to capture the first id. This is the first id of a paragraph, right, of each content. But whenever try to run, it is unable to capture this one, because for this case this id is not unique, right? For each content, for each page, the id keeps changing. So how can we find out the content or id, right? So that's why it is showing this type of thing, that it is unable to locate. That means it is unable to find that id, and it is also giving you the description. And if you go through the details, it is also showing the details of all the things, like line 13. Okay, so if we go line 13, here is the line 13, right? So here we used, here it is showing. So whenever in your daily life, whenever you try to automate this type of script or page or content, always read the error. Okay, if you read the error details, it will give you all the details, and moreover it will show you where is the actual error. Right now, right, line 13, it has the error, it is showing. Okay, so in this way you can easily trace. Okay, I think you got the idea. For dynamic id, we cannot use this way. Okay, we cannot use. So for Selenium and Python, we only use this type of scenario whenever the id is unique. At that time we only use, otherwise if we try to run this type of script, then it will fail. Okay, and another thing I want to mention you, let's go to that page. So this is our page, I mean the practice page. This is the practice page. So here, now let's check on other thing. So if we scroll here, there are two things, right? This and this. Okay, and now inspect. This one we inspected, and we saw that it has type text id fname name fname, something like that. Okay, here here see, this is one attribute, this is another attribute, this is another attribute, multiple attributes are there. Okay, and here also this line there is type text. So like id is different but type is same both of the case. So if we try to inspect element by this attribute like type text, this script will also fail. Okay, so remember one thing. So Selenium, when we will work with Selenium and Python, we should be careful because we need to inspect element uniquely so that it will not match. So in this case, if we try to use this attribute to inspect this page, so we'll get multiple elements, right? One, two, at least two elements are there. So our script will fail because we cannot, the script will not understand whether we need to select this one or that one, right? So be careful whenever you are trying to inspect an element or working with, you are trying to work with any of the element at that time. We have to be careful two things at the beginning. At first, if we use id, whether this is static or dynamic. If it is a static, that's fine, we can use, but if it is dynamic, we cannot use. And second thing is that if that attribute is common, we cannot use that. If we use common, then there will be problem, the script will fail. Okay, so that's all for now. So I feel you understand what I was trying to say. There are two types of like id. One is static and dynamic. If it is static, then we can easily inspect the element using Selenium code, like find by id, that method, by using this method. This is the code find by id. But if it is dynamic, we cannot use that. And I think if the attribute value or attribute name and value are the same, we cannot actually inspect those things because it will give us multiple uh, element, so that we cannot inspect properly. So we have to be careful how can we uniquely identify the element. In that way we will not. So thank you guys for watching this video. In the next video we'll use some other way to inspect element. Right now we only saw find element by id. Next, in the next video we'll see how we can inspect element find by name, find element by name, that one. Thank you guys for watching the video. And if you feel this video is useful for you, or if you feel this is you learned something, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. See you on the next video.